Boomkins are one of the least played specs in all of TBC and Classic Anniversary. Most raids are only going to bring one, sometimes none at all. You just don't see that many around. And outside of, let's say, Shadow Priests, a potential dip in rogues, I'd say Boomkins are near the bottom of the class population. And that leads to the question, why doesn't anyone play Boomkin? I started playing a Boomy maybe a month ago in TBC, just something to do in the off time when I'm not working on the main. I didn't know what kind of expectations I had when I started playing through the class, started messing around with it. It's very different from reality. And after spending some significant hours in leveling up and running dungeons, it feels genuinely like the most relaxed class in the game. I don't know how to explain it, but my mental completely shifts when I switch from running a sweaty lock to a Boomkin. So my first question would be, what are the expectations of a Boomkin? What do raid members actually expect from a Boomy? What do dungeon runs actually expect from a Boomy? Number one, you are not expected to top DPS meters. So that's going to take a lot of pressure off of you as a player. So when I'm talking about this being a relaxed class, not necessarily simple, but relaxed, this is what I'm talking about. They didn't have a major role in vanilla. And so far through the first phase, I mean, it's really just one Boomy per raid. The truth being, you're a support DPS, a utility DPS, not a main damage dealer. So when you go into a raid, no sane group is expecting the Boomkin to be at the top of the charts. But what you bring is important, right? You're bringing a crit aura, you're bringing improved fairy fire, you're bringing a B-res. There's off healing potential there, so if you need to switch on the fly. And obviously Innervate is a solid ability, but you're not even really using that on yourself, right? You're going to be using it or saving it typically for a healer. Raids want a Boomkin, but they usually only want one. But after that, most raids are going to want big time pumpers. They're going to want those hunters, they're going to want those warlocks. It's not that Boomkin is necessarily bad, it's just bringing a large group of them, and by large group I mean 2, it just isn't necessary. And that's sort of what's at the heart of the scarcity of the class. The expectations of you as a DPS class is also lower than others. You're not dominating the meters, and in a meta-driven environment, which is sort of where we're headed, unfortunately, for the classic versions of the game, you know, that bit of that retail mentality is sort of leaking into the classic versions of the game, where damage numbers are the most important thing. Parsing culture is a thing. People are going to gravitate toward those higher output specs. They want the bigger numbers. They want to see their name at the top of the charts. So if you want to be a top damage dealer, Boomy is not on your short list. There's also a bit of a mana issue. Abilities have this high mana cost. There's a constant mana pressure. Innervate is there to help combat that, but you're going to be using that on others, typically in raids. You're going to be saving that for a healer, for a pally tank. So there's a lot of reliance on things like mana potions, runes, consumables, the biggest enemy being your own mana bar. You've also got this fragmented spec tree, right? Resto druids are in demand, feral druids are in demand, and odds are if you're rolling druid, people are going to be asking you about being a bear tank, ask you about being a healer, being a resto druid. Boomy is just not at the top of the list of desired druid specs. It wasn't meta in Classic, it's still not meta, at least through phase 1 in TBC. Meta players chase those numbers, they chase efficiency. Now, while I'm saying Boomies have felt like one of the most relaxed, chillest classes in the game, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's simple gameplay. It's busy. You know, you're keeping things up, fairy fire, insect swarm, you're curing diseases, you're abolishing poisons. It's kind of high maintenance gameplay in a way. You're constantly tracking your mana, you're constantly tracking all the utility, you're constantly tracking buffing others. When you're playing a high utility class like this, there's a lot more to pay attention to, and some people just don't want to do that, right? They want to press their 3 buttons, see their name in the top 3, and go on to the next thing. So the damage rotation itself might be simpler, but the gameplay is busier. It's just a lot of juggling of responsibility. It's not overly mechanically complex, it's just mentally active. And people randomly whisper me, I swear, just, hey, oh my gosh, it's a Boomy. Like, where have you guys been? What are you doing? Oh my gosh, it's like seeing a shiny Pokemon out in the wild. It's hard to explain, dude, but people treat you differently. They really do. So what that has done for my mental is created this sort of like safe space between the characters. When I'm playing the lock, it's much more serious. I need to make sure that everything is in line, that I'm paying attention, that I'm performing to the best of my ability on a class that is, at least in this current phase, really essential. Locks are important in this version of the game right now. But when I roll over to Boomkin, it's like I can breathe again. I don't know. Is that weird to say? I can relax. And again, this isn't a shot at Boomkin players. I'm just talking about how the class feels as compared to something where other players have higher expectations of your performance. Like if you're a boomkin and you perform well, people are more surprised and thankful. Oh my gosh, dude, you're killing it. Versus if you're a lock or a hunter or a mage or any tank really, and you perform poorly, those people are much quicker to dump on that player. If you're a super sweaty player or your main is a super sweaty class, I think there's a lot of hidden upside to rolling a boomkin in your off time. And the nice part is if you want to maybe off spec as a resto, there's some crossover as you're leveling up, so you don't have to collect too much different gear, but the opportunities feel better for loot. Every run feels like I'm getting something. I also want to address the aesthetics of the class. Now, I love Druid gear. I think Druid gear is some of the best looking in the game. I love the nature themed sets. Now, I understand that Boomy is obviously your giant owl beast, so you're not seeing the gear, but I always liked rolling around in cities right up until we start the raid or the fight or the dungeon in that gear, and then feeling like I need to change into my damage spec and then switching to Boomy and rolling around as the owl beast. That's just my preference, so I could see why some people maybe don't want to play it for the aesthetics, where you are spending 3 hours as a giant owl beast. That doesn't bother me as much. And so for me, what Boomkin has done is provide breaks from these high pressure classes. It's become the spec I switch to when I need to calm down. It's become the spec that I switch to when I just want to go play the game and have fun and not worry about these high stakes, these high pressure end game moments. So why don't people play Boomy? It's not because the class is useless. It's not because it's unfun. It's not because it lacks utility. I think truly the real reason is that high-end end game raiding content right now in this phase really only needs one. So let this video be a selling point. Let me try to convince you if you're feeling the stresses, if you're feeling a little burned out, I think Boomy is a perfect class to re-enjoy the game a little bit, to go back into WoW and take a breather and waddle around as a silly owl beast for a few hours, go in, get some sweet looking gear, have the expectations around you lowered a little bit, not to underperform, just not expected to be number one. I think Boomy is the perfect class for that. And I wish I had played one sooner. And that is it for me, guys, on this video. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for your time. If you guys want to see more videos like this from the channel, World of Warcraft, or any other gaming content for that matter, or the podcast Midnight Release, feel free to drop a like, a sub, a comment. All that stuff truly helps with the algorithm and increasing exposure for the channel. I go by the name PV Pete, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.